unbelievable and not backed by evidence. It further added and recommended that all 10 police officers be booked for murder in killing of 4 rape and murder accused. The Supreme Court panel said that the accused were deliberately fired upon with an intent to cause their death. This comes in the backdrop of encounter killings of 4 accused in a case of gang rape and murder of a 26-year-old veterinarian in Hyderabad. Meenakshi joins me on the phone line right now. Meenakshi, certainly we're seeing certain key highlights, key statements being made by the Supreme Court. Take us through the details.
Well, we are in possession of this 387 pages Sirupurkar Committee's report, which has been submitted to the Supreme Court. This is a very high panel committee which was instituted by the Supreme Court itself. It was being headed by a former retired Supreme Court judge, Justice Sirupurkar, and very scathing observations and findings coming in, like you rightly mentioned. At one place, this high-powered committee goes on to state, and I quote, "They were deliberately fired upon with intent to cause their death and with knowledge that the firing would invariably result in the death," unquote. So this is a panel which has been set up by the Supreme Court. This panel is recommending invoking of the murder charge against the Hyderabad cops, 10 of them, like you rightly mentioned. And this is for their complicity and their role in the killing of those accused who were in their charge. And those were the accused who had to be tried by a court of law. Instead of being tried by a court of law, these police officers, the Supreme Court-led panel of inquiry today has found themselves fired upon these accused and killed them, which falls under the category of extrajudicial killing, which is very severe, very grave, which is why invocation of the murder charge is being called for by the Supreme Court-appointed committee. That is huge. How the Supreme Court will view it remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, this brings into a limelight the role of Hyderabad cops. This brings into limelight the larger issue of extrajudicial killings, which we have seen play out from time to time, not just pertaining to Hyderabad, but other states as well. And this again brings into the limelight the need for police reforms. Remember, there is a Supreme Court judgment which already lays down the law of the land as far as conduct of police behavior with regards to the accused go. But often we have seen flagrant violations of those norms happen. And this is a committee, in this particular case, which is going on to make some scathing observations, where this committee is also stating that out of the 4 who were killed by the cops, 3 were minor. So that is another sharp area which has emerged as to how out of the 4 accused in that Disha case who were gunned down by cops, 3 were minor, according to this committee. So scathing observations really coming in from this Supreme Court-appointed high-powered committee, which was led by a former retired Supreme Court judge, really putting Hyderabad police not just on an embarrassing sticky wicket, but clearly slamming their role as far as the killing of these accused go in the Disha case.
Certainly, Meenakshi, a huge development there and scathing observations, of course, being made by the top court. I'm also joined by Yogita Bhayana on the broadcast. She's an activist. Thank you so much, ma'am, for speaking to Mirror Now. Appreciate it. What's your response to this development? We've seen the Supreme Court's observation on this, and also the panel going on to say that it was, that they were deliberately fired upon to cause death. Of course, we do know that this entire case happened back in 2019, where a 26-year-old veterinarian, she was on her way back home after a clinic, but was raped and burnt alive, and hours later body was found in an underpass on the highway. So what's your response to this latest development that we have?
See, it's really disheartening. However, we always believe in a prompt justice. This was in no case you could call it a justice, because the cops are not there to give justice. The justice is given in the courts. That's why the courts are there. So yes, we in a way we thought, maybe they were trying to run or whatever. We knew all of that, but I also personally didn't know that they were minors. It's such a revealing kind of a statement. I mean, the inquiry has come up with this report, which is really shocking, and because the minors are treated differently. However, I still believe why all this is happening. Police reform is needed. We all know that. But why this all is happening? Because because we don't have prompt justice system in our country. If we can reassure the police also, because they really slog to get justice to the victim, sometimes they also, because they are representing the victims, in the state versus cases. So if there is an assurance given to the system itself, that within a year or within few months, the trial will be completed, the judgment will be given, I think that will solve the problem. Otherwise we'll keep hearing such things, and police killing is also nothing new. This case was highlighted because it was because there were four accused, and it was people appreciated them because it was a brutal rape case, that we all understand that. But in no way we wanted it to happen like that. So I mean, this is really shocking, what we got to know now, that out of four, three were minors, and I mean, they were all shot, that we all knew. So let's face it. But let's uh, let's uh, let's hear one day the news that the justice has been given through the court within few months, with the highest punishment. This is what exactly we are waiting for in this
Certainly.
country.
So you do have the stinging comments made by the top court panel here, the committee who probed these allegations. There were a lot of views and counter views after the encounter took place, because the four men were accused in the gang rape and a murder of the 26-year-old woman. But do you think, Yogita, that in this scheme of events, the kind of justice that should be granted to the victim or to her family in this case, or a just precedence any case should set, is sort of lost here?
Absolutely. That's the reason I'm reiterating that we must get the justice through the courts, but timely justice. The kind of time they are taking right now on every case, because I'm also handling so many cases here in Delhi. It's not at all worthy of fighting. So I mean, if even in this case, I truly believe the family has not got justice. Now the fingers will be pointed out. People will make different stories. The justice gets diluted. So I firmly believe there should be, because we've been talking about it for so many years after Nirbhaya, that within, it has to be very, very, very quick. It is not happening. But the fast track courts are not really fast. They are really slow right now. So many cases, we are dealing, the bails are granted. So there has to be some kind of waterproofing, or you can say that there has to be some actions immediately taken by the cops, by the courts, and proper thorough investigation and trial and justice. Otherwise,
Right.
we will keep deliberating this. This was one of its own kind of thing, but unfortunate, very unfortunate.
Right. So fast tracking of cases is your recommendation. Thank you so much, Yogita, for joining us and sharing a perspective.
Thank you.
Well, in some breaking updates, in a big blow for Bengal Minister Partho Chatterjee in recruitment scam case, the Calcutta High Court Division Bench has dismissed his appeal for protection against any coercive action. Division Bench upholds the order of the single bench